What is going on, everyone? Today is Monday, November 30th, and it is a victory Monday once again for the Tennessee Titans. So we started a YouTube channel here on Titans Brawl. I figured it'd be much easier to do this on YouTube rather than trying to squeeze in my crazy crammed thoughts in a 2-minute and 20-second little spurt, which is always very difficult to do. We're definitely going to be putting out as much content as possible on YouTube in the very near future, because that's how we can reach a lot of people very easily, whether it be podcasts or videos like this. Just really anything we have to offer, we're going to start pushing this YouTube channel as much as we can. But this is going to be a segment I'm going to do probably every Monday, and it's going to be named Two-Tone Post-Game Thoughts. As I kind of just basically recap what we saw on the field from our Titans. Not too in-depth, because I want to leave some content for the pod that we'll be recording tomorrow, but just kind of give a quick 5-ish, 10-ish minute little recap on what I saw from us out there, and then we can piggyback off of that once we record tomorrow. So Tennessee comes out in Indianapolis with a tremendous, monumental win of 45-26. What you saw out there from the Titans on both sides of the ball were as close to perfect as you can really get. A couple blunders defensively in the first half very early on, but other than that, they really just shined. They really, really did. And I don't want to hear, and I already started hearing it throughout the media early this morning about how, the Colts injuries is what led to, Tennessee having the success they did. I'm sorry, you're not going to tell me that two guys on the second-ranked defense in the NFL was enough to have, let Derrick Henry have a top 10 career high type game. Just, I'm not gonna stand for that. It's unfair to him. It's unfair to the team. This was a bludgeoning, and I don't think if DeForest Buckner was in this game, Derrick Henry's gonna have much less than 150 yards. I just don't see it happening. He was running with a purpose. He was running angry, and there was no one in this league that I believe that'd be able to stop him and what he was able to do yesterday. So I really wish, some people say, why do you care that Tennessee doesn't get the respect? It's not really that I don't care, but, it's just kind of principle to me. Teams, just because the logo on a team's helmet, no matter how bad or good they do, they just get all the attention in the world. And as fans, we want to see content on our team. We want to see our team talked about. We want to see people who have recognition speak highly of our team to get us even more amped up than we are. I mean, that's just kind of human nature, and we never get that. We never get that love really from anyone outside of some folks on the Good Morning Football show. They do give us a lot of love quite often, but outside of that, it's very limited. From what we hear in the media. But anyway, so Derrick Henry had a tremendous, outstanding, just unbelievable game, and I can't say enough about him. I made some comments about him in the past about how he's been a liability and he just doesn't seem to have the burst off the line of scrimmage. Those worries have vanished. I can't be happier with the way he's been playing. He really needs to get 25 minimum carries a game now. We're going to be running into, no pun intended, some pretty lackluster run defenses to finish off this year. And if we wanted to get the run that we had last year in the postseason, we're going to have to ride his ass all the way as long as we can. So ride his ass maybe wasn't the best choice of words, but I think you get the picture. Ryan Tannehill had a very good game. Didn't light up the stat sheets. But he performed how we would expect him to perform against this defense. He made the throws he needed to make. He didn't put the team in positions to fail. And he just had his typical, reliable Ryan Tannehill game. And, you can't be upset with that whatsoever. A.J. Brown just continues to show why he is one of the most, if not the most, electrifying man in sports. Not in sports entertainment, in sports. You put the ball in his hands and just good things always happen. Anytime he touches the football, good things are going to happen. And I just can only pray, and I'm sure we all can agree on this, he should be getting the ball even more. I mean, he's producing incredibly over his first 2 seasons, but I still think we're underutilizing him. I think, you got to try to get him on some bubble screens more often. We've been throwing the screen to Derrick Henry a lot. Why don't we try a bubble screen to A.J. Brown? I mean, every time the guy touches the ball, he turns into a running back, and he breaks almost as many tackles as Derrick Henry does. So I would love to see him get more involved as the season comes to an end, but we'll see how that turns out. Needless to say, though, he's a superstar in every fashion, and he's just one of the catalysts of this offense. Corey Davis continues to make me believe that getting him back next year is priority number 1. I think, and one of my co-hosts on the Titans Brawl podcast, I believe, mentioned it. I think Nick said it at one point. This might be the first time we're seeing Corey Davis healthy, and it's just the reality of it. He's just been dealing with injuries every single year since he's been drafted, and this might be the first year that we've seen him at full capacity. And if it is the case, then it's just a no-brainer. Whatever the number may be, as long as it's not astronomical, as long as the team doesn't come out of nowhere and offer the guy like, $15 to $17 million a year, you got to keep him in two-tone blue. It just has to happen. If you're going to be successful, to continue to be successful, continue to have Derrick Henry do what he does, you got to have those pass threats out there. And we know A.J. Brown's one of them, but outside of that, it's Corey Davis. He needs to be in this lineup. He needs to continue to be in this lineup. And I just don't see any avenues this team can take where it's not going to hurt them tremendously not having him back. Unless we take a stud wide receiver in the first round next year, which I don't know who's out there. I have to check, but I think he's got to stay. He really does. He has to stay. Where else do we go? Offensive line looked tremendous. Quisenberry looked tremendous. They're really holding their own. They're real banged up, obviously, with the injuries. We saw how important Ryder Saffold was with his return yesterday. I mean, he's just. I gave him a lot of flack when he started here in Tennessee. He's done a complete 180. He's an absolute stud. He's a mover of bodies, and we saw the difference he makes having him there at that guard position. So nothing but good things to say at him at left guard. Nate Davis just continues to ball out. A very underrated player on this football team. Not enough people talk about him. He's just gone from 0 to 100 in less than 2 years. He was looking lost and confused out there last year, and now he's looking like a seasoned veteran. So not a whole lot to say bad about him. And then Dennis Kelly is just, holding his own, just making things work at right tackle. We saw Isaiah Wilson make an appearance on, I believe, a extra point attempt in which he got run over. And then the kneel down at the end of the game. I'm not going to dive into that. I've already said how upset I am with the whole situation. He's healthy. We have a banged-up O-line. He should be producing in some way at this point. He's not. How he's going to impact the team going forward, nobody knows. But at this point right now, with a team as good as we have, it does suck that we wasted, at this moment for this season, a first-round draft pick on a guy that's not going to get any important playing time, most likely. So it is what it is. I've made my peace on the whole situation, but that's where we're at on him. And defense looked really good. They looked really, really good. They started out pretty slow in the first half. Let the Colts go right down the field, first 2 possessions and score, or maybe 2 of the first 3, I should say. But you saw once Tennessee kind of put their foot on their throat at the end of the first half, when they came out in the second half, they played a completely different defense. They were much more pressure happy. They played a lot tighter coverage. And what happened? We pretty much locked down the Colts rather than some bullshit time at the end of the game. And the Colts didn't really switch up their game plan either. So you see what happens when we apply pressure more consistently. We make quarterbacks a little bit more stressed out, and you see the things that happen. He threw the pick in the second half. He was throwing the ball all over the place. He looked uncomfortable, and that's what happens. I hope they emulate that going forward in the rest of the season. I mean, I just don't see us pressuring enough. I don't see enough all-out blitzes on quarterbacks, and that might be a key component to why we're not sacking. I think the most we'll rush at one given time is 5 players. Sometimes you got to throw 6. Sometimes you got to throw a corner in there. And we just don't do that enough. And we saw the capability of the secondary yesterday. Breon Borders had another very good game. He obviously dropped the pick 6, which was awful, okay? That's a kindergartner play. I mean, that's a preschool catch. Okay, I could have made that catch when I was 4 years old probably, and still running in for a touchdown. He didn't make it. It is what it is. We still scored at the end of the second half, which lightened the blow of that drop. And then he had a nice pick in the second half. He's the second best corner on this team right now, and no one's going to tell me otherwise. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it quickly, obviously Desmond King's been producing fairly well. So I would put him close to Desmond King at the moment, and that's not a knock on Desmond King because he's been playing well. But Breon Borders is just playing very well too. And, you know, that's just what it is. I mean, you got to hope that Adoree Jackson comes back. We won't know until whenever that day comes, but they're going to have some decisions to make here on the secondary because I think Breon Borders deserves some more time if Adoree Jackson does come back. The guy can tackle. If nothing else, he's a hell of a tackler, and that's something we've been lacking in our secondary for a good chunk of the beginning of this year. So we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully Adoree Jackson returns. My money's on he will not for the rest of the year, but only time will tell. I don't have any inside source to give any more information on that. But overall, defense played very well, and this was just a bludgeoning, like I mentioned earlier. It was over in the first half, and it was just a statement game. And I'm just very excited to see how this team progresses in these final 5 games. Huge matchup at home against the Browns. We got to put our foot on the throat to the Colts for the division. They have a not runaway game by any stretch against the Texans coming up. So if the Texans maybe pull one out, and we can take a win at home against the Browns, who I love our matchup with, I mean, this could really set things up nicely for us. Maybe we don't have to freak out and stress out during Christmas, and maybe we can have this division locked up by Christmas. Knock on wood. Knowing us, knowing the Titans, that probably won't be the case. That Texan game will probably matter week 17, but let's hope for the best, prepare for the worst. So that will be it for my first wrap up here. Definitely check out our podcast if you haven't already. Obviously, you're on the channel if you're watching now. And yeah, let's tighten up. Let's get back home and take care of business. And I'll see you guys all next week. Peace.